Hi guys, welcome back to another video, or your first video here, I don't know. Welcome if you're new here, welcome either way. And this video is going to be my July 2022 book unhaul. So strap yourselves in, this is going to be a long one. I've categorised all the books and there were just many areas where I decided I don't want to keep the books anymore, and let's just get into it. So my first category of books is books that I finished over the past couple of months and they didn't captivate me enough. I didn't like them enough to actually keep them. So the first one of those is Frostblood by Ellie Blake. This one was a super engaging read while I read it, but I don't think it's going to stay super memorable in my head. And even though I enjoyed it, I think it was very generic of the dystopian YA paranormal romance sort of thing, so not for me. And the second book I have in that category is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This was a super enjoyable read while I was reading it, so I definitely had a good time and I wanted to get to the end. I wanted to find out what happened, but I'll explain more about this in my actual wrap-up. But yeah, this is a sort of book where the author has an intent with it and has a message that they want to get across, and it's really rammed down your throat in this. You kind of know how the book is going to end from the very beginning, and yeah, it was an enjoyable read, but I'm never gonna pick this up again, so it's leaving my house. The next category I have are books that I DNF'd either this month or last month, and I don't own any of the other books in this series. So, well, this one isn't a series. So this one is Don't Call Us Dead by Denise Smith. As I will have talked about in one of my wrap-ups, I think this is a me problem and not a book problem. I think I'm just too stupid to understand certain types of poetry, and this was that for me. There are a lot of choices in here that I could tell were meaning something and I just wasn't understanding. So I decided to get rid of this one. And the second one I have is Swallows and Amazons by Arthur Ransom. This one I realised going into it that I wanted to have read it rather than I was actually interested in this book. So this one, again, is probably a me thing and not a book thing. But yeah, this one just, it wasn't capturing me, and I realised that it probably would have meant a lot more to me had I read it as a child. I didn't realise how young the main characters were when I got this. But yeah, this just not for me, and I'm getting rid of it. The next category are books that I just realised I didn't want to read them. I just looked at my shelves and I was like, realistically, I'm never probably going to get to this. So I have a mixture of comics and novels. Let's start with the comics. So I have Sword of the Dark Ones Volume 3. This is going to come up a bit later, but I did sort of realise that my comic collection was getting a little bit out of hand, especially with comics I'd just picked up from charity shops, where it wasn't necessarily volume 1, it was just whatever volume they happened to have. And so what I did over the course of this month was look up to see if I could find an online version of volume 1, just so I could try the series out. This one, I searched high and low and could not find a volume 1, and also from what I could see, it seems to be one of these series where certain volumes in the series are really hard to find, and that's what I think has happened with volume 2 as well. So just from the synopsis, I don't think this is going to really be my thing. It also doesn't have great reviews on Goodreads, and I just thought I don't want to go through the whole palaver of reading volume 1, really loving it, and then not being able to find volume 2 and just being stuck with volume 3. So I'm getting rid of this one. I'm getting rid of Bunny Drop Volume 4. I didn't even try the first volume. I just realised that I'd bought this just because I saw it as a comic in a charity shop, and I was like, oh, I'll try that eventually. And I've just realised that this series isn't for me. There was nothing actually about the series itself that was pulling me in, so I'm going to give this one away as well. The next one is another one that I think I wanted to have read rather than I actually wanted to read, and that is V for Vendetta, the original comic book that the movie is based on. So this one, I really enjoyed the movie, and I bought this comic to give to my dad because he really enjoyed the movie as well. but I realised that it was something that I wanted to have read rather than I actually want to read this, so I'm giving it away as well. And the last book in this category is a little dusty, and that is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I think I picked this up just because everyone was talking about it on BookTube. I think that I was sort of going through a phase where all the big titles that everyone was talking about, I was just picking up, and I just realised that I don't actually want to read this. I do still want to read the Carry On series, which is a spin-off of this series and the sort of novelisation of the book series that the characters in here are writing fan fiction about. And yeah, I just think that this isn't really going to work for me. And I really need to think about what books I pick up. If I'm going to pick them up in physical form, I need to actually think of if I want to read them. I think all the books from now on are actually going to be comics. So I really culled my comic collection this month. So this next stack is comics that I have already read, but as I was going through my shelves, I decided either one, I don't remember a single thing about it, two, I was keeping them for other reasons than I actually just enjoyed them, or three, I'm at the point now where I don't plan on continuing on in the series. So let's get into these. So I have Tactics Volume 1 and Volume 2. So this falls into a couple of categories. One, I have no idea what these are about anymore. I don't think I read them that long ago either, and they've just left my brain. I can't remember a single thing. And yeah, they're just... I would have wanted to continue in the series at some point, but they clearly didn't capture me enough to actually remember what they were about, so they're leaving. Next, I have Sankari Volume 1 and Volume 2, and this I do remember quite clearly, but this is one where I don't think I'm going to continue on with the series. I don't think I'm going to reread them. These were fun when I did read them, but yeah, these are about... I'm not saying what a lot of these are about because I actually don't remember, but yeah, this one is about a boy researching how to bring someone back from the dead, and then his girlfriend dies, and he sort of tries out his experiments on his girlfriend. So, super weird premise. It was a lot of fun when I did read it, but I'm not going to continue, so bye. Next one is another one that I do remember, but I'm just not going to continue on in the series, and that is Natsume's Book of Friends, Volume 1. This was a highly enjoyable read when it happened, but I am not going to continue, so it's leaving as well. Now, these next ones are a mixture of I do and don't remember them, but I realised, so these are those ones I have. Behind Story, Priceless Honey, Don't Be Cruel, Volumes 1 to 4, and Tableau Numero 20. And these ones, I realised I was just keeping them because they were LGBT, and I was so excited to find LGBT comics, pretty much all gay male comics, but I was so excited to find that I think I just held on to them because of that reason. And I realised that some of these have completely left my brain, and some of them I just didn't quite enjoy, but I kept them because of the fact that I was like, oh, they can be part of my collection of LGBT literature. And yeah, I think that I'm not going to reread them. They're just taking up shelf space and collecting dust, so I'll be passing these along. I could have organised this better, but oh well. So I'm back to DNFs now. So this is a stack of comics where, as I said before, I just went to a charity shop and I picked them up because I never know what's going to work for me and what isn't with comics, and because they're often the price of a regular book, but they take me less than an hour to read, I don't particularly like just picking comics up when I've never heard of them at full price, and so I end up collecting a bunch, often with no volume 1 and no plan of when I'm going to pick up volume 1. So I looked at a bunch of these on my shelf and I found volume 1 online somewhere that I could just try out, and none of these worked for me. So here I have Air Gear this is volume 2, and this one, I found volume 1, I thought it was incredibly generic and it didn't capture me, so this one's leaving. Next I have Amulet volume 3, it still has its sticker on from the Book Warehouse. Anyway, this one, I can tell there's been a marked improvement from volume 1 to this volume, but volume 1 really didn't work for me in terms of the art style. I thought it was a little bit clunky in its storytelling. It clearly does get better, but I didn't quite realise how young these are aimed, so I wasn't going to push myself through the first volume to get to this one, so not for me. Next, I have Psychic Academy Volume 2. For this one, it was the art style that didn't work for me. I didn't really get far enough in to see if the story was for me, but this, like, there were just super weird proportions. I was like, this feels so rushed and so sort of shoddy. I was just like, no, not for me. This one, I cannot even remember what it was about when I clearly DNF'd the first volume. Anyway, this is NG Life Volume 6. And it was clearly so forgettable that I, even after trying the first volume, I can't even remember anything about this. So this is leaving. I have here Gothic Sports Volume 3. And this one, the art style was just fine, but I found the plot quite generic. I think this probably came out when sports manga were super popular. And yeah, this didn't feel like it was doing anything new. The art style wasn't my favourite. I thought the characterization was very basic and very two-dimensional. So this one is leaving. And here I have the last one in my stack, which is Not So Bad, Volume 2. I found Volume 1 online, and this one, it was more the art style that didn't work for me. Even though I didn't like the art style, this probably stayed on my shelf because it hit the bar of it was gay, and I wanted to give it a try. But yeah, this was just, no. All the last ones I have, I own multiple or even all of the books in the series, and I tried Volume 1 and it just didn't work for me. So I've also got this split up into books where I do and don't own Volume 1. So first of all, we have Rosen Maiden, where I have volumes 2 and 3 and just not volume 1. And again, I figured that I might as well just try and find volume 1 online, and it didn't work for me. What I found with this was it felt like we were dropped in with no context. I think this had the biggest potential to work for me because of the darker undertones. I wish it was darker overtones. I think there was a lot of silliness, but yeah, this just didn't work for me, so I'm getting rid of both of these volumes. Next, we have my entire Tintin collection. So I was waiting until I got volume 1 and volume 3, but I figured that these comics have been around for... These are actually quite heavy, so I'm going to just hold up volume 2. I figured these comics have been around for so long at this point that there's bound to be copies of them available online, which I did find. And I think after trying to read the first volume and DNFing it, I did sort of figure out that this was a comic series that I wanted to have read, and I wasn't actually interested in the story. I found there were certain things that I was like, oh, that hasn't aged particularly well. So this didn't work for me. I'm still interested in seeing the movie. I know that a lot of people who really love the comics hate the movie, but I'm interested to see what they did with the story because this didn't really work for me. Next, I have the complete series of Absolute Boyfriend, and this I basically picked up from someone selling a bunch of comics on Facebook Marketplace for less than they would be selling full price. I gave volume 1 a try and I realised it wasn't for me. I think I need to be far more selective about the comics I do pick up. I am far more interested in ones that cover more serious topics and get much darker. And yeah, this just felt like a very generic, silly shoujo manga, and I just have no interest in it. It's about someone who essentially wants a boyfriend so bad that she signed up for this service to get someone for, I think, 24 hours or a week or something. And she starts falling for this guy, but if she doesn't return him within the period of time, then she has to pay £1 million. Like, it's... I mean, obviously the ethics of that is really strange, and I do wonder whether or not these people that this service are loaning out do turn out to be robots or something. I have no idea, otherwise that's really creepy. But yeah, this just did not work for me, so I'm going to get rid of this entire series. Next, I think I have what I believe to be all the volumes in the I or Love Me series. So this one, I read volume 1 previously and I wanted to continue in the series, but it's taken me this long to actually get the rest of them. And this is about, I think this probably should have been in another category, but anyway, this is about a boys' school and a girls' school. And there's a girl who everyone thinks is a boy, and a boy who everyone thinks is a girl, who end up in a relationship. And I remember volume 1 playing with gender a lot and being quite funny, and rereading that volume to continue, I was just like, this is a bit more shit than I remember. And so I decided just not to continue on in this series, so I am getting rid of these. And there you have it. Those are the 43 books that I'm getting rid of this month. I'm really glad of that because I've had a couple of months where I know I've bought more books than I've gotten rid of. And my aim by the end of the year is to at least balance out and make sure that I'm not just exponentially growing my collection without, getting to them. And I'm happy to have sort of whittled down, especially my comic collection, to ones that I either really stick in my mind and I really love, or ones that I really want to get to. I'm really happy with how that unhaul has gone. So do tell me about a book that you've gotten rid of recently. I'd love to know, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.